Well, Mike, some major news this week involving Notre Dame football recruiting. Kenny Minchey, he used to be committed to the Pittsburgh Panthers, but is there an outside chance he might become that quarterback the Irish have been looking for in their 23 class?
Yeah, I think a little bit more than an outside chance, especially if you read anything into that on 3 recruiting prediction machine, which says Notre Dame's the heavy leader at 96.5% to land him. So what's interesting, Darren, is a couple weeks ago that news broke that Caleb Smith, a wide receiver from Texas, he was committed to Texas Tech, and then news breaks that he's decommitting and then taking an official visit to Notre Dame. Notre Dame has that no official visit policy for committed players, whether that be an Irish commit going to another school or like in, Caleb Smith's case was committed to Texas Tech, and you have to decommit if you want to go to Notre Dame. Like they're not playing games. So it's the same kind of scenario with Minchey. It's like he was committed to Pittsburgh, decommits, and now he's going to Notre Dame. So it's looking really good for Notre Dame in both recruitments, as far as I'm concerned. Probably more confident that Notre Dame's able to land Minchey than even Smith at this point. So, Darren, he is someone who we talked about back in the summer. Notre Dame had offered him. Irish did not seem to make much traction, and then I'm very curious, like what are kind of all the reasons that have gone into him. Look, I think this is more of him seeking out Notre Dame kind of thing than because he told Notre Dame no. I'm sure Notre Dame kept trying to recruit him, but this was more of a change for him, if that makes sense. I think that he wanted to open things up and it just had a lot more interest in Notre Dame. Very interesting player. Injured. We're watching for folks watching on YouTube. It's senior tape, and he only played in a few games because he had a shoulder injury, and it's still supposed to be bugging. His season's over now, but I believe in his last game he didn't even get to finish it because his shoulder was bugging him. So you just hope that's nothing serious because he's a darn good quarterback, Darren.
Now, he's not the type that's going to run a whole lot. He can move. He's versatile, but he's not like a speed demon, correct?
I think he's a modern day quarterback.
Okay.
I like his release. It's pretty quick, nice touch. He can move, but he's not Mike Vick, Lamar Jackson back there, but he can certainly run. Looks built kind of like a truck. He's a thick kid, 6'1", maybe 6'2". Overall, just seems like a good fit for Notre Dame. I'm told that Tommy Rees really wanted him. Darren, do you remember we talked about Austin Novosad, the quarterback who's committed to Baylor and ended up sticking? Notre Dame offered Minchey, and after Minchey basically said no thank you, then they went to Novosad. This is the guy that they were really going after, kind of after that first swing of guys that Notre Dame weren't able to land. Your Dante Moore, your Chris Vizina, Jackson Arnold. Notre Dame wasn't able to land those guys, and then they went this route, Kenny Minchey. And it just kind of has worked out that he's fallen back into Notre Dame's lap, so to speak. And Darren, a couple weeks ago, we were talking about Notre Dame's potentially their high school quarterback being this UCLA baseball commit who had a New Mexico State football offer. That would have been, if that was it for Notre Dame in high school, that would not have been a good situation, especially when you look at the quarterback room. Minchey, though, this is an All-American 4-star, top 300 player nationally. This would be a much better situation for Notre Dame.
First, let me say, just watching your video clips, he is much more mobile than I anticipated. So I'm really glad I got to watch this video with you. And he is a guy that can do a really good job of manipulating the pocket. He's ran a few times for some quality yards. And you're right, he's got a pretty quick release. So he is a very interesting talent. And just going back to what you mentioned a moment ago, he said no to Notre Dame originally. This is just part of the guessing game, but you would have to imagine, Mike, the quarterback situation for an outsider looks more promising right now than it did last summer.
It's my understanding that Minchey would be able to enroll early at Notre Dame. So if you're looking at the roster, it's okay. All right, Drew Pine, 7-1 as a starter. He's been, very serviceable for this Notre Dame football team, but third stringer last year, second stringer this year, right? At the start of the season, at least. So if I'm Kenny Minchey, I'm thinking I could probably beat out Drew Pine and Tyler Buckner. What is he? What is he moving forward? Steve Angeli, Ron Paulus. Maybe Notre Dame takes a 1 year. Maybe I can compete as a true freshman. If not, maybe Notre Dame brings in a transfer quarterback as a Jack Cohn kind of bridge quarterback. And then maybe I start a sophomore. Like you got to be, if you're a freshman quarterback coming in, like you would have to feel pretty good about the situation that you can play a lot of football at Notre Dame. Just look at Notre Dame. Like it seems to all, I mean, you have injuries at this quarterback position, or Ian Book was never meant to be the guy, right, Darren? He wasn't.
Tommy Rees wasn't.
Tommy Rees, you go down the line, and Steve Angeli is one play away from being Notre Dame's guy. So you just never know, especially at Notre Dame. And Kenny Minchey he's a darn good quarterback. I think this would be a really good get for Notre Dame.
Now, I know this is probably a pretty obvious question, but for those that don't follow recruiting that closely, especially on my show, let me just ask this. So the fact that Minchey might pick Notre Dame, that ends any thought of Carr reclassifying. He'll stay in the 24 class. Fair?
Yeah, that's done.
Okay.
Carr's 2024. Had a story up at him at blueandgold.com. So if you're talking about Kenny Minchey's, again, officially visiting this weekend for the Boston College game, I'm sure his phone's been blowing up from other schools too. I mean, there's no way that Notre Dame's the only school involved here. So we'll see if it's a kind of a quick flip, like he goes from Pitt commits to Notre Dame in the matter of a week, or does it, maybe I want to go take an official to whatever school is still, like Texas A&M, I don't think is quarterback commit, or Miami, maybe they're looking for somebody, so we'll see, but I like Notre Dame here. How about this? He goes to Pope John Paul in Henderson, Tennessee, Golden Tate's high school. So that it's a Notre Dame friendly high school, I would have to imagine. And Carr's Minchey 2023, Carr 2024. I am sure Marcus Freeman is saying his Hail Marys. I mean, that would be an very ideal situation for Notre Dame.
And for those subscribers to blueandgold.com, I believe you got a story up on CJ Carr right now, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Wrote that this morning, interviewed him. He's great. One of my favorite recruits I've ever gotten to cover for sure.
So we might have some news on Minchey next week.
We'll certainly talk about him. That's for sure. We'll talk about his visit, how it went. He's not a big media guy. Like he's kind of, even before, like he's not doing all these interviews and now I can't imagine how much it's even more now people want to talk to him. So I don't know if he's gonna go on the record, but we'll certainly discuss Tuesday in our show next week kind of what I'm hearing after it.
It's got a couple of weeks before National Signing Day. Plenty of time. No rush.
Yeah, well, it's I think it's the 21st. It's just a few days before Christmas this year. Cool. So December 21st.
All right.
Yeah, he's got a month.